Thank you, Herman. Our next speaker is Mike Callicrate from St. Francis, Kansas. He's a plaintiff in the price manipulation case also, and Mike flew into Harry this morning. Thank you for coming up, Mike.
Thank you, Bob. I'm very, very honored to be here today, standing with Herman Schumacher against this injustice. It's been many years since we started this fight. For me, about 20 years ago, and it's been at least over 10 years ago, in fact 13 or 14 years ago, that I first met Herman Schumacher. And I would hope that today may be near the end of the fight. If we're willing to stand up, if we're willing to demand a better America, if we're willing to demand fairness and justice in our country. When we lose our markets, we lose our freedom. When we lose our markets and we fight the people who stole the markets, you see what Herman gets on his door. You not only potentially lose your freedom, but you potentially lose your house. We've been to court twice, once against Tyson and IBP, and once against all of the Packers in the price reporting case. We won both cases only to have them reversed by judges. And I suggest we ask these judges, and perhaps the Senate, perhaps Congress would like to ask these judges why they decided the way they did and why they protect the big meat packers and insulate them from the laws that are supposed to protect producers. You know, I was thinking about Herman, and I was thinking about his family that came here from Russia and settled around Zealand. And before they went to Russia, they were forced out of Germany. And they were forced out of Russia with feudalism and fascism and highly concentrated markets and economies that concentrated the wealth into the hands of a few and took it away from the many. They came to America, to Zealand, North Dakota, for another chance. And I'll tell you, they picked an area with some rocks in the soil and 40 below wind chills. They picked an area with a lot of risk in production agriculture. Hot summers, drouthy summers, big snows that kill cattle, lots of cattle this last year. And they can stand it if they have a fair market. But they can't stand it if there's a packer monopoly with their hand in their pocket and a foot on their neck. And how about the consumers, on the other hand? The millions of consumers, on the other hand, that are paying the highest prices ever in history for meat. Never before has the rancher received so little while the consumer pays so much. And we know from history, from 100 years ago, the damage of monopolies. Back then, 5 meat packers essentially controlled less than 50% of the market. Today, 4 control nearly 90% of the market. And we stand by with secretaries of agriculture that justify that and suggest that we need big packers to trade in the global market. And I suggest something else might be better. I had a call last night from Eric Nelson in Iowa that said we should change the acronym for USDA. It should be USDBA, United States Department of Agribusiness. And that is exactly what we've had since the days of Earl Butz when we decided to industrialize agriculture. And you know, this industrial agriculture experiment, although it seems old to us now, today, where a few packers control the market and a few processors control the markets, and now a few big retailers control the processors and packers, we think this is set in stone and perhaps we can't change it. But it's basically only 50 years old. But how well has it worked? I think the sign on Herman's door is a very good indicator of how well it's worked. The dying of our rural communities, the loss of a sovereign food system, the national security threat that represents is huge. Another system is possible. Perhaps a system with fair markets rather than fear. A system with justice rather than serfdom. A domestic food system rather than a foreign food system. President Obama said last week in response to the Iranian protests that anyone standing up for justice will be on the right side of history. Herman, thank you for standing up for justice. And thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Mike.